It's the weekly show about rAVe with the hottest news in the It's the weekly show about rAVe with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary. Steph and Gary.
Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. This is another episode of rAVe TV, but it's a little bit different because that is for sure not Gary K.
No,
who
it is
is
not.
beside me. So this who are you, stranger who just showed up on this podcast?
I hijacked Gary's feed this morning. My name is Tim Albright. I'm from AV Nation. How are you, Steph?
I'm good, Tim. How are you?
I am fantastic.
So in case you do not know, in case you have missed kind of us talking about this before, AV Nation and rAVe have created kind of an interesting and new and different partnership. And today, Tim and I are going to be kind of talking about news that goes along with that partnership. So yeah, Tim, do you want to like expand a little bit? I feel like I'm explaining it badly.
No, it was good. It was a good setup. So what we're doing is rAVe has AV Buyers Club, right? A industry end user focused publication. AV Nation has transitioned, and our publication is solely focused on end users. And the idea here is to create education, to provide information for those folks who are responsible for specifying and quite frankly, maintaining those systems, whether that's in corporate or higher education, stadiums, wherever it is. If you're responsible for your company's AV, we're hoping to provide you the right information to make your job better, to make it easier, and to make better decisions.
Exactly. So the news and the things and everything that we and the guest we have today, we're all kind of focusing on that crowd. Those, I sometimes call them technical end users. I don't know if there is a perfect like lump term for this type of person within and kind of almost outside of the AV industry, because a problem that you and I have talked about, Tim, is there are so many people in our industry that don't even know that they're in our industry.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, again, whether it's, if you are in retail, right? Because we're going to talk about digital signage here in a bit, right? And you're responsible for a retail outlay and the interactive displays that customers are going to see and consume. Well, then you're in our industry. At least that part of your job is. Maybe your job is not 100% of the time dealing with unified communications, video conferencing systems. But there is a part of your job that absolutely deals with projectors and displays and collaboration systems. And so that's what we're hoping to do is to help you in your job.
Exactly. So we're going to do a few more of these kind of episodes of rAVe TV that are focused more toward this crowd of people. So keep an eye out. Share this one with your friends, your mom, your partner, your kids, or get the word out. But anyway, Tim, let's talk about the news, because you sent this to me and you were like, I really want to talk about this. And this is about this really interesting trend of digital signage in the meeting room space.
Yeah. So you've got Microsoft announcing last week or earlier this week that they were going to provide digital signage, some sort of communication mechanism for rooms that are outfitted with Teams, right? So instead of the TV in your conference room being blank when you're not using it, or just having a generic splash screen, you can put up information. You can put up, company information. But the one thing about the Microsoft thing is they're also leveraging the back end of Microsoft's analytics. They have a program called Power BI. That's a reporting system. I'm not going to get into it because I'm not a Power BI expert, but you can pull information from that system and display it in your conference room. So somebody comes in, and let's say that you have KPIs, key performance indicators, and you want to keep the company up to date. Well, Power BI is what a lot of companies use for that. So you can keep the company updated. Hey, this is how we're doing on these KPIs. But you can also leverage it for, again, communications. We're getting into the holiday season here in the States. So a reminder, this is when the office is closed. This is when our holiday party is. So all of this information is being able to be delivered And Microsoft's not the only one getting into it. Amazon
Yeah.
last month said they're getting into digital signage. So you've got these ginormous tech powerhouses
Yeah.
seeing this communication avenue as another business model.
It's so funny too, because you sent that to me last week, and then also last week, Alan Braun, who is just great and has been in our industry a really long time, he wrote a piece that was like, "Here's why digital signage and unified communications and collaboration are the perfect match." So he also is like seeing, and I just trust his opinion because he just gets the industry
Yeah.
very, very well. And he's saying we really need to work on making this be friends because it really does make a lot of sense because in essence, digital signage is about communicating a message.
Yeah. Absolutely, and getting folks to do something, right?
Mhm.
Not to be silly, but the point of digital signage is communicating a message and then
Yeah,
asking people to do something with that information,
exactly.
whether that is coming to the holiday party or purchasing a product that you happen to be advertising.
Exactly. So it seems like the perfect place to help, communicate and further message is in the meeting space.
Yeah.
So from, even if it's, I would almost consider this digital signage as well when we have a touch panel outside the room that is communicating like who is the next group of people using that room. Um, the definition of digital signage can kind of waver and be a little bit different in terms of meeting spaces, but I do think that we're gonna see this type of technology be more integrated in there because I think that we, as an industry, don't really know what to do with meeting spaces right now, which is kind of a little bit of a hot take, but we talked about this, Tim, right? Like no one is we're just meeting any old way.
Yeah.
Like we really have no standard right now. Like sometimes we need a boardroom, sometimes we need a flex space, sometimes we need a huddle room. There really is no like this is a meeting room like standard. So I think that right now there is just a lot of companies trying to throw solutions out to see what's going to stick.
It also it depends on the industry that the integrators are talking to, right?
Mhm.
A meeting space for higher education, right,
Mhm.
can take very different forms, right?
Right.
There's a couple of folks, University of Arkansas Medical Center down in medical system down in Little Rock. They have 3 different meeting spaces, and I know that sounds kind of weird saying in education, but they have 3 different meeting spaces for their students to have kind of ad hoc
Mhm.
study sessions, right? And because it's a medical school, they have to have the ability to put things up on a screen
Right.
and look at things like cells and stuff like that. I'm not a doctor, never went to school for it, but you get the idea here. So, it depends on what it is that you and your company needs. But
Yeah.
Steph is right. The definition of a huddle space or a meeting space is vastly different depending on what you and your organization's needs are.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I want to bring on our guests now. So I'm going to bring on Pat Kittredge of Middle Atlantic at LeGrand. Pat, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. So today we brought you on because you were specifically going to talk to us a little bit about the Middle Atlantic Forum lectern, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about this product. Why is it cool?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of reasons it's cool, but just to tie kind of what you guys were talking about in this technical end user, which I like that term. It's probably no secret that Legrand kind of did a restructure of our sales team recently, and we have teams kind of focused on those technical end users. And I tie that to this forum lectern because at Middle Atlantic and in Legrand AV, customer empathy is huge when we are developing our products, right? And we talk to a lot of these technical end users as well as integrators. But during the development process, we wanted to make sure that we were solving all the challenges that they face daily in the classroom, or the educators are facing in the classroom or training center, what have you. So the need really was, hey, we're looking for a cost-effective, ADA compliant is a big one, height adjustable lectern. So we check all the boxes with this new forum lectern. It comes in 3 different widths, different colorways to match existing rooms, or to fit the spaces that exist, and it had to be configurable and customizable. So in true Middle Atlantic fashion, we made sure that all of the work surface options, whether you want touch screens or monitors or document cameras, what have you, this lectern is able to support all of those different configurations.
Very cool.
And then obviously the aesthetics play a big role, but hey, we need to be able to support and mount equipment, cable management, power management, all of the important stuff to our integrator professionals, where you need to have the AV system supported, but then kind of hidden as well in these lecterns. And yeah, I mean, it's an exciting launch for us. It's part of our forum suite of products, which includes display stands, tables. So it kind of creates a cohesive product design across the campus, whether education or corporate. We have done classrooms in universities that are using tables and display stands in a non-traditional learning environment, but you can also have the lectern in there and you have a cohesive aesthetic. So yeah, that's kind of the elevator pitch, I guess, of the forum lectern. But we're excited. We launched it at InfoComm. We're kind of hitting this season now where schools are deciding what to purchase for next summer's install season. So excited to see the growth of this lectern, and definitely seen a lot of interest from universities, small and large.
Awesome. Well, I have a screen share that I'm going to try to pull up here so that people can see a little bit of what it looks like.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hold on for a second so that Carrie can pull that up for everyone. But yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about, with end users, those technical end users who do often handle complex AV setups, how does this lectern address practical needs like cable management and durability and accessibility?
Yeah. So I'll say the phrase again in true Middle Atlantic fashion. There's areas to manage cables in almost every corner of this lectern, in the legs, underneath the work surface, anywhere that an installer would need to do a cable tie or Velcro. So it addresses, whether you need the system to go from down the right side or the left side. Durability, that is a huge thing for us. We send our products through rigorous tests, weight tests, tip tests for, seismic activity. So we typically stick to the UL standards for things like that. So we make sure that all of our products meet those standards. And then accessibility is huge, right? So I mentioned ADA compliance and being able to have space, the recommended space for wheelchair access underneath the work surface, and then the reach distance as well for when there is touch screens or whatnot on the work surface. That's all taken into consideration when our engineers are designing it.
Awesome. And kind of taking a step back and just how does Legrand AV view the evolving role of lecterns and other AV furniture in modern workspaces and classrooms?
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah, sorry, I asked
question.
you like a really big question. I'm just like,
No,
yeah,
no.
answer that.
Yeah. No, it's a challenge that we've been trying to solve for a while now. Typically furniture is decided outside of our industry. Commercial interiors has a lot of pull when it comes to conference spaces or classrooms, and we've been trying to address the aesthetic need of that certain person, that persona, but also realize that we need to be able to support the AV system that goes inside of it. So, I don't know if we're seeing a trend yet that our AV installers are getting getting the decision of the furniture, but I think that's where these technical end users might start being able to make the decision and understand that, hey, yes, it needs to look good, but it also needs to be able to function, and we need to be able to service it easily. We don't want I'll move over to the credenza side. We don't want a credenza that needs to have the door open all the time because the equipment's overheating, right? So having that, I'll use your term again, technical end user, I think is going to be important for us to kind of continue to grow in this furniture space.
For sure. So you mentioned that, rAVe has recently kind of taken a little bit of a different approach. So what's next for Middle Atlantic and rAVe in terms of product innovations that aim to support those technical end users?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything I can't share on the roadmap, but our for Middle Atlantic, I guess specifically, one of our big focuses is power and IP controlled power, being able to troubleshoot remotely. So we have some things coming down the line that will open that portfolio more broadly in terms of a global perspective, so that our larger end users, technical end users who have multinational deployments can standardize on certain products. So that's kind of a big, I guess, emerging space for us is the, we'll call it globalization, but we call multinational deployments. So definitely a lot of innovation around that, and then more innovation coming around in the furniture space, conference room sort of products. As AV systems use less and less equipment, you don't need as big of a footprint with some of the furniture and stuff, but you still want to localize it in the space. So maybe you don't need a huge, big credenza, for example. So I think I'm allowed to share that sort of stuff.
Okay, nice. No, I think that's perfect. Well, Pat, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. My last question for you is, where can people find more information?
Yes, so they can find more information at our website at legrandav.com, and in our resources tab, there's product overviews, and that's where you can find more information on the lectern, which I know you were screen sharing. So
yes, and also if you are watching, you can scan the QR code that's going to pop up on the bottom left, and that will also take you to more information about the lectern. So, Pat, thank you so much. Appreciate you. Appreciate Legrand. I appreciate all the work you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
All right. I'm going to bring Tim back on now. Hi, welcome back.
Hey, thank you.
So, all right, let's talk about some more news. And we have covered this news before on rAVe TV. Okay, this is last week's news. No, the week before last's news.
Mhm.
But we have not talked about how it's going to affect this crowd, this technical
Yeah.
end user crowd. So we're talking about, Acuity acquiring QSC.
Yeah.
Okay. We've
So
talked about this. We've talked about the potential that this has for the industry, how this might affect integrators, how this might affect other manufacturers. But what Gary and I didn't really talk about, or what was it, Emily that I did this with last week? What Emily and I didn't really talk about or cover was how this might affect end users. And I was talking with you, Tim, as we were planning this episode, and I was like, I don't really know if this affects them. And you were like, it does.
it does. And the thing is, we also covered this on AV Week, and I made a statement, and I tried to make it. I was not trying to be, confrontational, but
Yeah.
the fact of the matter is, 12 months from now, none of us know how this is going to impact anybody right now.
Mhm.
And I know that because you and I have both watched acquisitions over the last 10 years, right? None of us know. Where this is going to come down is in 13, 14, 18 months, then we'll start seeing some changes. Joe Fan, the CEO of QSys and QSC, he's not going anywhere for 12 months, right? That's the standard operating procedure. Acuity mentioned in their filing, they expect to close on this the third quarter. So that's July, August of next year, right? that is when we will start to see changes. And what will happen is, whether that is consolidating jobs, right? Whether that's accounting or reps or whatever, software development, things of that nature. So that's when we're really going to start seeing it. And there's nothing you can do today. It's just keeping in contact with your integrator, keeping in contact with your QSys rep if you have one, relationships with people inside QSC, and just kind of get a sense in about 6-9 months. So right after Infocom next year is when we will start seeing some changes. I know that's not a great, like, oh, you can do A, B, and C today, because
Yeah.
you can't,
Yeah.
but it will impact you in some way, shape, or form, but we won't know until next year.
Right. I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. And I appreciate those insights because yeah, like I said, I was like, this won't affect them. This isn't anything. And you're
Well, it
like,
will.
no, it will. So I
And,
appreciate
and
that.
again, I am not throwing Acuity, anything in Acuity or anything QSC. I have just seen this story before, right? I've
Yes.
seen this movie.
Yeah.
And whether that's AMX, and when Samsung bought Harman,
Hmm.
or oh, this is a long time ago, but Cisco bought a company called Flip. It's a
Mm.
fantastic product. This is late 2000s, early 2010s. It was a little itty bitty like video recorder. It was high resolution. It was fantastic, and they bought them
Oh,
for
yes. I remember
yeah.
this.
And in 2 years, Flip went away. Like, you
Yeah.
can't get a Flip. You can go on eBay, I guess, but you
Yeah.
can't. So they took the technology and they kind of absorbed it. But nobody knew when Cisco bought Flip what was going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Several people wrote things and oh, this is what they're going to do, and this. None of us knew. And I'm not saying that QSC is going away. Again, I have no knowledge, but you as a consumer, as the person
Hmm.
using this technology, all we can do is sit back and go, okay, this is what Acuity is going to do, and then we
Yeah.
make our decisions then.
Yeah. No, I think that's completely fair. But okay, moving on. Aver has a new product. Okay, this is the UE1. This is for PTZ cameras. This is for USB-C extension, which is previously, pretty costly. But this is designed to overcome those distance limitations in those camera setups. So this is created for, of course, Aver's lineup of PTZ cameras. This offers a flexible, cost-effective way to put cameras throughout those professional environments, your classrooms, your event venues, corporate spaces. And this is going to help you do that through standard CAT cabling, and is going to help this camera placement help you put them wherever without compromising on that like video quality, because this has support for 4K video. So pretty cool.
Very cool.
Um,
And
no, go ahead, Tim.
I was going to say, it allows you to, like I said, it allows you to send USB cables farther than they can just out of the box, which is a great thing.
Exactly. And funnily enough, Aver is one of the sponsors of rAVe TV, and we are very grateful for them. They have been there for us. And this is what they wanted us to talk about this week as well. So if you want to learn a little more information, you can, of course, go to avbuyersclub.com. We have a story on this. And you can scan that QR code and go directly to Aver's site to learn more about this as well. But yeah, so moving on, Tim, you did a podcast. You do a lot of podcasts.
I do.
You did a podcast in particular.
I did.
Tell me
I got a chance
about
to
it.
sit down with the folks at the New York Giants, which, as a lifelong Chicago
Yeah.
Bears fan, was still kind of cool. They
Awesome, though.
they renovated their draft room, leveraging Crestron technology, and they quite frankly, the old adage is, oh, they brought it into the 21st century. No, they surpassed a lot of the 21st century and moved it into the middle of the 21st century, because they did some really killer things. Got to talk with Ty from the Giants, Ian from Image Engineering, and Brad Hinsey from Crestron, and really it centered around what were the Giants trying to do, right? They were trying to move from analog, quite frankly, right?
Okay.
Chalkboards and whiteboards and pieces of paper, to a more digital centric workflow. And it was really kind of interesting to see, not only, oh yeah, they're using this on the one weekend a year that the NFL draft happens. No, they're leveraging it throughout the year for things like player assessments and trade assessments and just a daily workflow. And it was really kind of interesting to see how they were able to move their organization from, again, an analog into more of a digital space.
Very cool. Well, we have a clip from this podcast, and you guys who are watching are going to be the first ones in the world to get to see it, other than like. So let's go ahead and roll that.
Ty, draft day was April 25th this year, right? And you mentioned this in talking about what Ian and the team at Image Engineering were asking you. How are you going to use this space after this day, right? And for those of us that follow the NFL, draft day is actually a long weekend, and you know it can be exciting depending on your team. It cannot be exciting depending on your team. But how have you used it? Like, what have been some of the things that you've used after those days in April since then?
Yeah, I mean, it's a living and breathing room. So it services us during basically every major roster building portion of the calendar year. So the draft is one of the primary ones that come to mind, and with the popularity that the draft has, and that's a 3-day window, but that's a month long of meetings in April leading up to that. That's a month long of meetings in February as we prepare to go out and watch the workout circuits and the pro days and get information about these prospects. And it's another month long between, a combination of training camp and December, kind of prepping on what we know about this draft class to kind of launch into that landscape. But so that's the draft side of things, but it also services us on the pro side when we're about to do roster cut downs, going from 90 players down to 53-man rosters. So every team around the league is about to cut 37 players through a 1 to 2 week portion of time. And we've got to allocate and inventory all those players around the other 31 teams. So we're constantly having meetings in there during that month of August, trying to identify what that landscape looks like. We have constant huddles, whether that be around trade deadlines or what we call our advance meetings for the process of deploying information to our coaching staffs and our scouting staffs to prepare for the upcoming opponents that we're about to play. And from there, it can do anything else we want it to. So, hey, somebody's going to have a Zoom. That'd be a cool place to have it. Something we need a FaceTime, so a prospect as just a call or check-in. Hey, that's a cool place to have it. So we have weekly meetings in there for various reasons, but all of those things that I mentioned, the trade deadline, free agency, the draft, the cut down process, those are formal things that we built software around that is empowered by the ease of access to the information around the sides of the screens.
What are some of the areas that you guys have found that Crestron has been able to, quite frankly, provide kind of the backbone and the underlying technology to make some of those things happen, whether that is, cutting down on the roster or meeting with prospects?
The two main things that were most important for us when designing this room, we've already talked about ease of control. The second was matrix routing and being able to take a whole host of inputs and place them anywhere we want in the room. And one of the first things that Ty and Joe came to us and said is that we need to be able to use this room outside of the draft as a workroom, as a meeting space, a place for scouts to have workstations. And so part of our design and our architecture that was so important was, how can we take any video input and get it anywhere in the room? And so we have a large 22-foot wide matrix display on the front wall, and then we have two flanking screens that are in the back of the room as well. And we can route anything anywhere to that room, and it's because of the matrix routing with Crestron.
Well, that is kick-ass, Tim.
Yeah.
That was a really kick-ass podcast. Tell me and tell the people when this full podcast videocast will be available and where.
Yep. So you can find it tomorrow, Thursday, the 7th, on AV Buyers Club, on AV Nation, or quite frankly, wherever you get your podcasts. So Spotify, Apple podcasts, wherever you get those.
Awesome. I cannot wait to listen to the full thing. It's going to be
Yeah,
really,
it's pretty
it's gonna
cool.
be really good.
Yeah.
So, okay. You brought this up. You wanted to talk about this. You wanted to talk about a lot of BiAmp products are now Microsoft Teams Room certified.
Yeah. So it's interesting that watching manufacturers and which certifications they're going for. So the interesting thing here is they made a big deal about it being Microsoft Teams certified. There's two things with that, and not Zoom, right? And not Google Meet. The certification process for Teams, my understanding is much more rigorous.
A lot of red tape.
Yeah, a lot of red tape.
Yeah.
6-9 months of testing up in Washington, right? You have to ship them the product, this, that, and the other. But it almost feels like a little bit of a bellwether saying, oh, okay, I'm seeing more Microsoft Teams press releases coming out than I am Zoom. And it's interesting to me that's the avenue that they're going down, as opposed to, oh, we're also Zoom. It'll come in like 2-3 months later, and it won't be as big of a deal.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. And when I learned how rigorous Microsoft Teams like cert testing was, I think that made it a lot more like cool and interesting to me. So it's for sure going to like work with that system. Like this is like there's a lot of red tape because they don't want there to be any like question or anything unexpected to happen. Like they will have tested that will have come up earlier at that point.
Yeah.
So no, that's a really, really good thing. So if your organization, your school is a Microsoft Teams campus or organization, definitely get products that are made to work. You're going to save yourself a lot of time and probably
headaches.
Quite a bit of headaches. Yeah. So moving on, I also wanted to bring up Extron's new HDMI splitters. So these are the DA4 HD 8KL and the DA6 HD 8KL HDMI splitters. They make it easier to display your high quality content across multiple screens. I feel like I really like to break it down when I am talking about a box. Because, when you're looking at it, you're like, this is not as easy to talk about as a display. But basically these have models that can support either 4 or 6 screens at once. And these splitters work really well in those high demand environments like your control centers, your conference rooms, where you need a lot of different information. I moved too much. The red lights come on. Okay. Over like one of multiple screens. It's going to help you organize that. And so it will all look good. So they help to simplify those multi-display setups. They've got a lot of built-in tools to make the connections quite smooth. So, yeah. Tim, you want to expand?
So you mentioned something there. It is a box, and it's something like people get excited about projectors. They get excited about displays and video walls, and like, oh my gosh, look at the pretty colors and look at the things. This is one of those products that makes those things possible, right? This is the people have used the term the glue that keeps AV together for Extron for years, and this is one of those products that quite frankly continues to do that. Allows you to do certain things that you simply can't do without like in this case a splitter that supports 8K, which is a huge thing. Because as production and content creation moves from 4K up to 8K, you're going to need stuff like this.
Yes, you explained that better than I did. I appreciate that. Well, so our last sponsor and partner of the day is Shure. So we are going to roll a video about Shure's Microflex Wireless Next 2. If you have not heard of this product, you're going to want this product after this. So check this out.
The Microflex Wireless Next 2 is an all-in-one audio solution for meeting rooms, training rooms, and lecture halls. It makes it easy to configure audio for events that include both local and remote participants. It's really 4 components in one: a state-of-the-art wireless microphone system, a smart charging station, Intellimix digital signal processing, and a fully equipped audio interface. Despite its comprehensive feature set, MXW Next 2 is easy to set up in minutes with just one push of a button. Automatic frequency management finds open channels and avoids interference without interrupting the audio. Multiple interfaces make it simple to connect to a computer, sound system, and recording equipment. Onboard IntelliMix DSP eliminates annoying distractions and delivers a pristine audio mix for both in-room and remote participants. Body pack, handheld, or boundary microphone transmitters run all day long and drop into charging bays so they're always ready to use. The MXW Next 2 all-in-one wireless system is the next step in audio for hybrid events.
Okay, so that product is actually really cool. And the way that we have talked about it mostly is through classrooms because everyone can have their own microphone. Teachers don't have to share. And all you have to do so like you can assign one of these microphones to a teacher, and all that a teacher needs to do when they go into a new room is just press the button to sync it to that room.
Yeah, and that's a huge thing, especially on college campuses where I used to be a tech manager 100 years ago, and that was one of the biggest issues was you would get tech support calls because they couldn't find the mic. And the reason they couldn't find the mic was because the previous professor
Had
walked
taken
off
it.
with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is perfect for those. So definitely check that out again. That is the I always get the words jumbled. Microflex Wireless Next 2. So definitely check that out. It's from Shure. They make excellent products. As you can tell, this is what I'm using today, Shure's product. So yeah, and Tim, you are too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's why we sound so good. So definitely check it out. It is literally perfect for those classroom settings. So we're winding down now, but we wanted to we have two more things to talk about, but one of those is a really cool case study. And this is one done for ASICs. And this is one that Sony did with its spatial reality displays. And the thing about the spatial reality displays at Sony, I've seen these for, I don't know, Tim, are they like, they come out like a couple years ago now?
Yep.
Yeah. Is I've always been like, what's the use case?
This is
And
the use case.
this is perfect.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Tim, walk us through this a little bit.
So it's an interactive display inside an ASIC store, right? And this is one of those what we would call it, a landmark store, one that a manufacturer or company would say, "Hey, this is our marquee store," and
Mhm.
customers can go in, they can interact with display, they can design their own shoes, which is fantastic. But this is one of those use cases where you go, I would like to see this in person, or whether that's a museum or it's an attraction, or you're a college or university that would like to do something like this in a welcome center.
Yeah.
This is a very very customer driven, not customer like the technical end users, but your customers, right?
Your customer.
Customer driven design and product.
Yeah. 100% agree. The case study is actually a really fun read. I recommend reading it all the way through, and you can do that at avbuyersclub.com, or you can scan that QR code and it'll take you to the site. So the last thing as we're winding down, in our normal episodes, I normally in the last few minutes just talk about some live virtual events that we have coming up. I did want to specifically bring one up that I felt would be good for that technical end user. So if y'all are out there, if you're watching, please come. It's the Audio Symposium. It is through rAVe's launch platform. It's going to be November 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And the purpose of this, it's like a half day long thing. It's powered by our platform. So it's all completely virtual, and it is going to provide you with everything that you need to know about the state of the audio industry within AV. And it's going to be in a series of just 30-minute panels talking about different aspects of audio. And audio is important to everybody. So like this has to do with you. If you're watching this has to do with you. This is important. And also if you have your CTS and you need some more credits for renewal, this is approved for 2.5 CTS, CTSD, or CTSI are used. So it really is perfect for everyone at every level of that CTS certification.
No, absolutely. And Steph is right. If you're in the industry, audio is important. You can have a conference without video. You just can't have one without audio. So absolutely,
You can't really do much without audio. I'm going to be so honest. You just can't do anything. So definitely come, and you're guaranteed to learn something. So thank you all for watching. We hope you've enjoyed this kind of special edition of rAVe TV. We can't wait to keep doing this. Tim, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
And yeah, to all of you watching, we will see you next time. Keep a lookout. And in the meantime, join us rAVe TV every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern and again at noon Eastern. All right. We will see you next time, people. Bye.
It's the weekly show about Pro AV with the hottest news in the AV industry. It's rAVe TV. Give it up for Steph and Gary.